How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and Auto Camp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
My name is Happy Gilmore. I haven't swung a club in years.
You know what you gotta do.
Grip it and rip it.
Or... Oh, now that is some Happy Gilmore.
Everyone is talking about the comeback kid, Happy Gilmore.
Happy Knee.
Yeah, baby.
Happy Gilmore 2, only on Netflix July 25th. Rated PG-13, may be inappropriate for children under 13.
Robertson, the first time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robertson do. And still Robertson, getting his shot in, and a goal! Robertson!
Coming up on the show this week, we have football, transfers, appeals, Fantasy Premier League, and a whole lot more. You're listening to the Tricky Talks podcast. Welcome to another show. Kate, you're back for a second show. Welcome back.
I am.
We didn't scare you off the first time.
No, thank you for having me again. Yeah, happy to be here.
And Mollo's here as always. How are you doing, Mollo?
Yeah, all good, thank you. And I'd just like to say, being our shirt twins, shirt friends, it's great.
Yeah, quite ironic we're all wearing our shirts today, isn't it, Kate? You were going to say something on a particularly poignant day for NFFC fans.
Yeah, so it's the 2-year anniversary today from both Trevor Francis and Chris Bart-Williams, the Bartman, passing away. So, you know, pause for thought there, just to look back on to exceptional players that are very, very loved by the fan base. It also would have been my dad's 79th birthday today, and he's, I suppose, the reason why I'm sitting here in lots of ways, the reason why I exist, but also the reason why I love Forest. So a little nod to him, and just he has one of the bricks outside the City ground, and the quote that he has on it is "Expect nothing." So as we sit here at the beginning of a new season, words to live by, I think.
We'll hold you to that one come the end of the season, Kate, but certainly 3 special guys gone but never forgotten, I'm sure. So lots to get through, of course, and we're going to start with things on the pitch. And of course, I mentioned at the top of the show, football is now back, so we've got a little bit of action to talk about, albeit pre-season friendlies that I know you, Mollo, you love so much these days. 2 0-0 draws against Chesterfield and then Monaco. What are your main talking points or takeaways from those games? They are pre-season, as I say, so not too much to talk about at this stage. But did you gain anything from those, Mollo, from those performances?
Minutes in the legs for pretty much everyone in the squad that's back. A couple of academy lads showing themselves to be pushing form, if not probably a bit early for selection, because, as you know, pre-season's virtually non-contact at the moment. Mostly minutes in the legs and very few injured. I think Taiwo is the one that's come. Someone always comes back looking sharp, and the word is in the training ground and what little he's had, Taiwo's looking very, very sharp as well. So, which is really interesting in the current predicament. But 2 clean sheets, that's what I'll say.
Conversely, though, Kate, no goals yet scored at the other end either. Any concerns there, or is it way too early to start thinking about the fact that they haven't scored?
No concerns at all. pre-season is exactly what Malo just said. It's minutes in the legs. It's getting a run out for people. I'm not concerned that we're not scoring in pre-season. I do have concerns about how we are going to score in the Premier League. It's nice to hear that Taiwo was looking sharp. Great to see him out on the pitch unexpected. And obviously the big news from that game was that Morgan was in the starting lineup, which I don't think people were entirely expecting. But yeah, no concerns about results around pre-season. And I did pay the 99p to watch the stream. So, as much as we moan about pre-season, when it came to it, I still watched it.
I mean, it's quite timely you mentioned Morgan Gibbs-White, because I was planning to talk about his situation later in the podcast, but there's no reason why we can't discuss it now. So obviously the footage that went around social media was him giving a heart gesture to the Forest fans after they were singing his name. Was it goodbye or was it more of a thank you, Molo?
Who can say? I think the video I sent you, when you listen to the end, not everybody was clapping him off, which I think is outrageous, really. I've come to the conclusion that he's given nothing but 100% on the pitch every time he's walked on the pitch. If he does go, and we all know it's looking likely, I'm of the opinion, yes, he's going to a crappy club in Spurs, excuse my language, but for me, we thank him for getting us to where we've got to. 3 superb years, watching him grow. Of course, it's always horrible to lose them. The feeling for me was it was a little bit of a, you guys aren't the internet warriors. You guys are the ones who watch us play every week. This is a thank you. But then there was one gentleman, as you heard, said cheerio in not too uncertain terms to him in a different way. I don't like that mentality, but I can understand. It's kind of like being jilted, I suppose.
Yeah, I know a lot has happened since we last recorded. The news broke that the release clause was met and all the shenanigans that have gone on since then. My personal thoughts on that are that I think the owner's Marinakis is so passionate about the club. I want that owner who's going to stand up and not be bullied into selling just because a release clause was met. I think you're right. Ultimately, he probably will go. And maybe the main reason for that is the fact that it's a World Cup year. And given what the England manager has said previously about playing for certain teams to improve your chances of getting in the World Cup, I think that might be the driver behind all of this, potentially. Because in another 4 years' time, he's going to be pushing 30. So you've got to think there's a doubt there as to whether he would be in that World Cup squad. So this might be his one and only chance to get playing for England in a World Cup. However, Morgan, being the professional he is, I'm not sure this has been solely driven by him. I think there's probably his agent that's unfortunately broke the rules in inverted commas. So we'll see what transpires on that front. But Kate, on the assumption that he is going to ultimately depart, unfortunately, what would be the ideal resolution for you here? Clearly, I don't think he's going to be going for the 60 million on the release clause. Otherwise, he would have gone now, surely. What would your ideal resolution be for this one?
So I'm not 100% convinced that he's going to go. I take what you're saying that it is looking more likely that he will go. I certainly don't buy into the narrative of if he doesn't want to be here, then let him go. We don't want him, because I definitely do still want him. I would love it if he stayed. I would love it if the news broke that he'd signed a new contract for all the reasons that you've just said. It's a World Cup year. He's a brilliant player, and wherever he plays, he's going to play his heart out for that reason, because he's a professional footballer. So I think it's a positive that he's gone to Portugal. I think if he hadn't gone to Portugal, when we look at Alexander Isak today making his statements and saying he's not going to join up with the team, we've not got any of that happening. And yes, that is about Morgan being a professional, but I also think it's because it potentially is undecided at the moment. Personally, if he's going to go, I'd rather see him go anywhere other than Spurs. I know there's been some talk around a potential kind of swap deal, hasn't there, for McAtee, or whether or not, there is still any interest from Man City. It sits a bit better with me, something along those lines. Maybe not necessarily for Morgan in terms of how much he would play there. But I'm still hoping that Marinakis pulls this out the bag and he signs a new contract, to be quite honest.
Watch this space. I'm sure. I mean, we don't have any timescales yet in terms of when this is going to be resolved. Wouldn't be surprised if he is still wearing the Garibaldi come the start of the season. But these things, as we've seen, can move swiftly, can't they? Would you want him in the team, Molo, to start the season? Or would you, if he is going to go, would you want that break prior to the season starting, just to have that, whoever is going to be in his place, have that momentum in terms of minutes on the pitch?
Oh, 100%. I'd want him in the team because he's one of the top players in his position in the country. If he is going to go, what I don't want to happen is, assuming it's the end of August transfer window again, I don't want to see him leave on the 30th or 31st of August and we're scrambling around for a replacement, getting hammered, and then, or we don't get a replacement of any kind and things have to change. It's important that it's ironed out relatively soon, pretty much like everything else in the Forest world at the moment. I think that, because obviously we'll miss him and he's very hard to replace, if McAtee is the guy to replace him, and from watching under 21s, I don't see any evidence of that being the case, but if he is, then I'd much rather we did some kind of deal with Man City where they give us 50 or 60 million and we get McAtee as well, ideally. I don't want him to go to Spurs, but I think it's raised a bigger problem that's reared its ugly head in the last 2 weeks for me. Sorry to sort of spring this on you. It's the Big Six hoovering up all the talent. Now, by Big Six, I mean the teams that finish 17th and 15th, ironically. the rich six, hoovering up the likes of the Wolves, lad, and there's Liverpool themselves as champions, and fair play, they won the league and they've not spent a lot of money in the last few windows. But they're hoovering up talent. There's talk of them getting at the front of the queue for Isak as well. The lads from Brentford have gone to Man United. Wissa looks like he might well be on his way. It feels like a lot. The Bournemouth lad off to Liverpool just feels like the rich six. I'm not going to call them the big six, so they're not big. Hoovering up all the talent and trying to get rid of that level playing field again. And it does feel like we're victims of that with Morgan and Thomas Tuchel. I'm not a massive fan of his as an England manager anyway, but I really have no respect for him as a football man saying what he said, because it's not right at all. We were far better than Tottenham, far above their level last year. Yes, they won their way through a Mickey Mouse Cup without playing anyone until the final, and that was a team that finished 15th in the Premier League. So they have looked their way to Champions League football, but they are not a good side. And to be playing for Tottenham instead of us, if imagine this next season unfolded the same as this season, why would Thomas Tuchel encourage players to go to places like Man United and Spurs when they've been garbage? But a slightly different issue, but it does tie in hugely with our players.
Talking of transfers, there are still plenty of rumours flying around about players who are linked with Forest. The most one that seems to be gaining most traction is Dan and Doy from Bologna. If you believe all of the reports on social media, and of course take it with a pinch of salt, of course, Forest seem to be in pole position for him. Now, would he be a good replacement for Elanga? Do either of you know much about him? Because I obviously recall him playing for Belgium in the World Cup against England, I think. But I don't. Other than that, I don't know too much about him other than what I've read on social media. Either of you two think he will be a good replacement?
Talent-wise, definitely. Pure coincidence. Sorry to jump in. A very, very good friend of mine loved Remo Freuler, or I think it's probably his wife did, to be fair. So he's watched quite a lot of Remo Freuler's side since he left, and he says this kid's got a lot of talent, rough around the edges, but very talented. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, 24 years old, I believe, Kate, isn't he? In terms of, so he fits the model of and the type of player that Forest are after.
Yeah, and I mean, I've looked into him since we were linked with him. I've watched some of his YouTube stuff, which I mean is always very complimentary. But yeah, I can absolutely see why there is the interest. I think the fact that it isn't just us that are interested, says something about him. You know, there are other scouts circling, there are other clubs wanting to get him for him. Yeah, I think at this point, I'd give him a go. We need to sign some wingers. If our scouts think that he is a potential replacement for Elanga, okay, yeah. I think it's all positive what I've heard about him. So I think, yeah, let's get him signed. Let's get one signed.
We'll come on to that in a moment, Kate, actually. But some other players that have been linked with Forest are Jacob Ramsey from Villa, Douglas Luiz, who interestingly did not report to Juventus pre-season training today, and Christopher Nkunku from Chelsea are three big names that have been linked with Forest. Any mileage in those in terms of how would you see them if they were to join? Would they be an asset for the team, Kate?
I'm keen on Ramsey. I think he's great. I know he's an academy boy from Villa, but he's very well thought of amongst the Villa fans. I know a lot of Villa fans, and they love him, which is great. I've got a lot of respect for fans' opinions, so I think that would be good. Again, he's young. That fits our model. I think one of the Villa fans that I know very well spoke to me and said he will give you absolutely 100%, and that's what we want. So, yeah, I'm keen on Ramsey. I'm not massively keen on Luiz, although from what I've read, Everton are leading the pack for him at the moment. So I don't know if that one is going off the boil a little bit. I don't know. There's just something about him that I don't think does quite work, does quite fit. I don't know. How much money is he on? Did I read?
Yeah, wages would be an enormous problem for him, I think. And the latest I'd heard from Everton is that whilst he acknowledged there was a visit, I don't think he's put that on hold because he wanted to explore other options, see what else was out there. So that's the latest on that one, I think. And what about Nkunku from Chelsea? He came in with a good reputation, didn't he, Kate, around going into last season? I remember he was on everybody's radar as somebody who could hit the ground running, certainly from an FPL standpoint, but he didn't quite reach the mark and played primarily in the Conference League. Any thoughts on him?
I think, again, wages are a massive issue coming from Chelsea. I believe he's on nearly double what our current highest player is. So, but then equally, he's got to potentially take a step down in wages if he's going to move. Weirdly, yeah. I mean, it would be a grandstand signing, wouldn't it? All eyes would be on him. I think possibly Nuno could do some good work with this guy. Nuno is great at releasing potential. I mean, we've got Callum as, testament to that, haven't we? I mean, this is slightly different in that Callum we got really as a bargain, and this I don't think would be that. But yeah, I mean, it's new, this. I've only really heard about this one late last night and had a little bit more of a look into it today, but I don't hate it.
So you mentioned earlier, Kate, around wanting to sign players. We've obviously only signed Jesus and Jair Cunha for now from Botafogo. However, they're in a bit of a negative situation because they've lost Elanga, Danilo, Sosa, Toffolo. Lewis O'Brien has departed today for Wrexham, albeit he was on the periphery anyway. So in terms of the squad depth, he probably doesn't really count. So they are in the negative in terms of ins and outs. Where do you stand, Mollo, in terms of, are you concerned that they haven't yet made those signings, or is the fact that we're shopping in a different market compared to what we've been used to in the past, and we're up against different teams now at a higher level than we've been used to in the past in terms of our competitors? Are you a little bit concerned they haven't made transfers, or are you on the other side of the fence and think, I trust the recruitment team to get those signings in and get the right ones in too?
I think a bit of both. As it stands, I'm probably on the fence, so to speak, in that I don't want to see us rush into signing players we don't need. I'm starting to question myself, and something Kate's alluded to about wages. Well, are we now at a level yet? I can't decide, because 7th place finish, does that put you in the sort of top 10 echelons where we are going to have to start paying more wages and therefore paying... I mean, let's face it, they've boosted our season ticket prices and our matchday prices enough, so maybe that's where it does need to go partly, although it's not going to make that much of an impact on the size of those wages, to be fair. I would like to see more in, of course. I think Jesus is a terrific signing. If Cunha hits the ground running, then he could do and challenge the Morato job, and if we get an injury, at least we've got depth. But I know FPL's later, but my son he's a bit of a whiz on FPL and does all the things. We talk a lot about it. He was pointing out, because he's Forest as well, of course, saying the thing is, how many times did Callum and Alanga actually start together last season? And a run of games when they did was that bad run at the end of the season, particularly at home. In reality, what we've lost is an impact player from the bench as well, isn't it? From one of them, either or sometimes both, like at Liverpool. But we're not even going to have that if we don't start signing people soon. But I trust in the process. The club, they know what they want. They know who they're after. They might be having to play a bit of brinkmanship with other clubs and competing for signings. And obviously we've got a few going out the door, and the Gibbs White situation. Don't want to say the words, but the Europa Palace debacle, all of that hasn't helped. I don't like the way, through not necessarily any fault of our own, our whole pre-season has become a bit of a debacle, a bit of chaos. This time last year, we had that wonderful overseas trip where they all bonded and so on and so forth, and we had a fantastic season. I think people that have been watching the game for a long time, like we have, and talking to pros and ex-pros, pre-season is so much more important than people realise. It's why I was so disappointed that Danilo's gone, because I was hoping with the pre-season we'd start to see the best of him again, because some of the rubbish I've read on the internet about, what was it, Danilo's never been the same. We've never been the same. He's played about 5 games after coming back from a horrendous injury, but that's gone now. Well, he's gone now, I should say, really. So disappointed we haven't signed anyone, but not worried.
After Zoomies at the dog park, it's time for Drive Up at Target. In goes a big bag of kibble and one squeaky chicken toy for the good boy. Drive Up that's ready when you are, only in the Target app. Just tap Target.
The McDonald's Snack Wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch Snack Wrap. Spicy Snack Wrap. You broke the internet for a snack. Snack Wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Finding a new job is stressful. But with Indeed, it doesn't have to be. Just fill out your Indeed profile with your skills, experience, and desired salary. The more you fill out, the better your matches will be. And hearing from hiring managers will be 2 times more likely. Relax. That's your Indeed profile sending opportunities your way. Indeed, the world can work better.
Just want to expand on a point you raised, Muller, about the wage bill. There needs to be a time where, if Forest do want to keep competing at the top of the league, they are going to have to pay higher wages, because they're going to have to attract better players.
We are looking increasingly likely to be playing in the Europa League, which in itself does bring in more revenue. So there might be a little bit more in the pot to play with there. And I think if we are finishing higher up in the Premier League, if we are making it into the mid but still European competition, then yeah, we do need to start paying the wages. And I think what I find frustrating about it is that Marinakis does have the capacity to do that. He just has to stay rigidly inside these rules, which ultimately in themselves are restrictive. You know, if Marinakis said, okay, I've got this money, I can spend it on Forest and I want to, and he got in the bigger players, well, then you become richer by default, by the fact that you have the bigger players and more people want to watch them and more people want to buy their merchandise, and you become the big 6. But the system isn't designed to help teams like Nottingham Forest move up that ladder. So it is a vicious cycle. I think if anybody can work the system, it's potentially Marinakis. So let's see what happens. Yeah.
I think we're in the big 6 already, Kate, don't you? Or the rich six, as Mollo calls
the rich six. I think Kate's hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah,
and
she has. Good answer.
The fact that it's not designed to let other. I mean, as much as there's been a bit of angst about the way Elanga left, how can a club like Newcastle United not be competing with the other clubs? Like a garbage team like Tottenham are able to outbid and outsource other teams, having finished 17th in the league last season. The whole thing stinks. It stinks for teams that are promoted. Sunderland are at an instant disadvantage, and we know that we had to overcome that and take a 4-point deduction to achieve staying up. Maybe that's the model that others will think about following, because, let's be honest, do you see any of the promoted teams staying up? I don't, and it's not their fault because they can't compete, aren't allowed to compete. But what it does allude back to, I'm intrigued. I meant to ask earlier what it is, because I don't watch Italian football hardly at all. I don't know what Douglas Luiz did at Juventus in his year there, whether he's been off form, injured, whatever. But I remember him destroying us. He was superb in that midfield. For a year or so, I remember when we went to Villa Park, and I said, in current form, at this point in time, they've got the best midfield in the Premier League. That was what was pushing them on to where they got to, wasn't it, when they first got in the Champions League? And he was a massive part of that. I know McGinn's a good player and so on. I'm a year out of date in a way. If the Douglas Luiz we saw at Aston Villa comes to Forest, I think he's worth whatever we end up having to pay for him. As you say, it's not my money and we don't want to upset the dressing room. However, somebody more informed than me that might watch Italian football might say, yeah, he was rubbish at Juventus or he's become injury prone or whatever, I don't know. But if we want Douglas Luiz in our midfield, and some people do, some people don't, we're going to have to pay a certain amount for him, aren't we? Whether that be a nice juicy signing on fee so we don't hammer the wage structure, I don't know. But we definitely need to be aiming for, if not that player, certainly that quality of player, don't we? As well as the up-and-coming players that we've looked at.
Yeah, guys, if you're listening, let us know what you think of Ndoye, Ramsey, Luis or Nkunku. Should we be signing those calibre of players, or should we be searching on a slightly lower level than that? Let us know. Get in touch. You mentioned, Kate, about having to look at increased revenue, which leads me nicely onto the next topic that I was going to talk about. And I know it's a sensitive one for you and I, Molly, because we're directly impacted by that. Kate, I'm not so sure whether all of you and your family are season card holders or not, or whether you also have to go in the ballot as Mollo and I did today for the Brentford game. But ticket prices have been increased this season, haven't they? And for an adult ticket now to a Premier League game costs anywhere between £50 and £70. So a huge rise in prices in that respect. Is it the correct business model to deploy at this stage of their progression up the leagues, or are they ripping off the fans? Kate, Mollo, don't mind which one of you steps in here.
I think, just to clarify, I do have a season card, so
Yes.
I'm okay. It's more, I've alluded to it before, and I can't be the only person in this position. My lad is a certain age where I used to take him to the odd game in a promotion season early on. He couldn't concentrate for 90 minutes. It wasn't his thing. He was borrowing my phone and all that sort of stuff. So I thought, I'm not going to commit to a season ticket for another year or two till I'm sure it's worth it. I don't want to force it on him because that might make him not want to go. Of course, by the end of that season, he was going to every game. He was obsessed and I couldn't get him a season ticket and haven't been able to since. And we're constantly, refreshed, trying to buy tickets. And I know there's an issue about the ground, etc., that there is that generation of young fans and they've put them up by 10 quid. I mean, 10 quid over 10,000 tickets, 100,000 quid every home game. That's quite a lot of money, I suppose. If you're going to pay Douglas Luiz an extra £90,000 a week, there's that bit covered, I suppose, compared to last year. I'm very torn on this because I like going to gigs and music and stuff, and it's about the same sort of price, to be fair, to see a decent gig, a lower level one. I can go to non-league football and pay a tenner. I can go to the Bodega and pay 20 quid to see slightly lesser bands. But it just doesn't feel right somehow. I can't put my finger on it. And in terms of business models, it's us. I can't believe I'm saying this. Our ground is still holding us back. Thanks, Rushcliffe. So it's difficult because we want these big signings. We want to have to be able to compete and pay the wages. And I don't mind paying for it to a point. You have to make life decisions, don't you? And in our household, Forest is a life decision. Officially, I say pay the mortgage, then it's Forest. Officially, it's Forest, then the mortgage, then everything else can follow. So it's a tricky one. I don't, if it's ultimately, as a business, supply and demand, the club could have put them up to 80 quid, they'd still sell them. So at least they haven't done that like Villa have. I'm disappointed in Villa because they're a proper club. And I hope
£92, wasn't it? Their most expensive ticket.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane, isn't it? But we've seen it in the London clubs, your Tottenhams and whatnot. So it's sadly the way football's going. However, somebody made a very good point. A friend of mine, Des, said, what if we get, everything falls apart because we haven't quite got the team of last season, we can't get the goals. Where will those fans be when we get relegated? And if we stay down there for a couple of seasons, touch wood, God forbid it doesn't happen, suddenly they'll all be available again. And you can't charge £70 to watch Preston on a Tuesday night at home. No disrespect to Preston, but you know what I'm getting at there. Or any Championship football. So,
yeah, it is a tricky one, and that's why we call Tricky Talks, because we like to talk about the tricky stuff. But
very good.
I'm very much like you, Mollo, on the fence, because you only have to look at the ticket situation for Brentford. I obviously tried for tickets. You did for your family members, Mollo, and neither of us were successful because the demand is still there for tickets. So people are going to buy them to see the team play, whatever the price is. So from that perspective, they've got the business model spot on because they're still selling out easily. But on the other hand, I understand that 70 quid to have a central seat in the Brian Clough Upper is expensive for a 90-minute football game when you pay a similar amount of price for potentially an NFL game in the States, albeit some of their seats are a lot more expensive because you have a longer period of a game activity to watch, but you can get really good prices depending on the venue. And similarly, other US sports, baseball, for example, you can get tickets for a lot cheaper. So it's a difficult one, isn't it, Kate? I know you're probably in the basket of having season cards, aren't you? So it might not affect you directly, but can you see both points of view that we're talking about?
Yeah, I think it's a football problem as opposed to a Forest problem. I think that they are charging more and more. There's more and more money in the game. There is more demand and people want to go and people will pay it. And ultimately, that's a business, isn't it? If people will pay it, then that's what you're going to sell it for, the absolute maximum that you can. I am lucky in that me and my boys do have season tickets, and even luckier, we got them promotion season at the beginning. And if we hadn't, if we hadn't, we would be, quite a long way down on a very, very long waiting list now. So again, I am very, very grateful for that. I do the ballot for the away games. My level of membership is ballot membership, but they are price capped, most of them at around 30 quid, which does help, but I get the frustration. My thing is, and I speak to a lot of people who talk about, and I can't get a ticket and I haven't been for years and no. Mollo, Simon, I absolutely appreciate you play that ballot to win. You would buy every ticket that you could possibly get. I'm not sure that every single person on that waiting list for a season card, every single person that's in that ballot would, if the opportunity came up. I think they like it because they can't, because it's unattainable. And like you said, we were actually all sat there for Tuesday night against Preston. And because, that's how we roll. So I do wonder if there are as many people that would take up those season cards if they could, that are on the waiting list. I don't know. I suspect there aren't. I do feel for you guys. I know that you really want to be there, and I'm
all
great.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you're all right. Yeah. I get
Rub
what
it
you're
in,
saying.
Mollo.
I'm all right, Jack. Yeah,
I get what you're saying. And for me, it was very much, my that season that we first got the season tickets, I wasn't sure whether my youngest would sit through them, but just because I thought, well, I can't really leave him at home, so he's going to have to come. And this is how it's worked out for us, and for them, amazing. Like his first experience of having a Forest season ticket, we got promoted and went to Wembley, so he thinks football's amazing, and so that was a massive win all round. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
I think it's worth mentioning. You said it's a football problem, and you're absolutely right. And unless people stop going, then of course supply and demand. But there is one club that have managed to buck the trend, isn't there? The fans, not the club, and that was Man City. They were getting stick for not filling their stadium, but they made it clear. As much as they didn't sell out at Wembley and everything else, I know we took the mickey, but in their home games, they were no longer selling out, were they? And they made it clear it was because of the price structure. And they've actually, I can't remember, I read whether they brought them down slightly for matches this season, and certainly haven't put them up at all. Of course, Forest aren't in that position, as you say, Kate. People will pay whatever it is at the moment, won't they?
Where are your season cards located, Kate? Next time I come up for a game, and if I'm in the same stand, I'll come and say hello. Where do you sit?
So we're Peter Taylor, so we sit in the family stand. We actually have brilliant seats. We're quite close to the pitch. We're 2 rows back, and you can hear them. You can hear them talking, and sometimes you feel like if you just reached, you might be able to. So they are great seats, and yeah, we do love it. Yeah,
I think you might find your 4 rows back now. Have you seen what they've done?
Well, they added an extra row last season, so I don't know if they'll have added a further one. I'm not sure.
Apparently, they've added 1,500.
You're in Cena.
Despite everything that's gone on this week, they've apparently rumoured to have added 1,500 seats around.
So
digging down.
Is that the front of the Peter Taylor stand?
I think it's all round, because when I was looking at tickets to try and get them for my lad and my wife, I noticed the way the Peter Taylor stand is, particularly in front of that family section and A block, it sticks further forward than the rest of it now, even more so than it did. Also, they're Trent End in parts, Bridgeford in parts. So it'll be very interesting when we see if they have done that, because that would actually give us a 31,000 sort of regular attendance and 1,000 extra tickets for people at least.
Couple of things on that. I'll be able to tell you because I'm going on the stadium tour on Monday, so I'll check it out. And if they have got some extra seats added in, I'll take some photos and show you guys. But on the other hand, if they have put them in, when I logged on to get the tickets try and get for Brentford, I saw no seats that was the whole length of the Peter Taylor stand, if you see what I mean. If they did add in a couple of 2 rows, didn't see any blue dots in blocks, big blocks there. So I don't know whether they had actually put them up for sale or not yet, because they can't be season card holders, surely, or can they? So interesting.
Unless they moved seats, and I think at the front of the what we call the old T block of the Brian Clough, they keep a chunk there for the ballot, because last season we won the ballot 2 or 3 times, and that's where they always ended up sitting. And I'm with Kate on that. Although I sit near the back of A block, or stand near the back of A block, that game last season against Villa when I was really not well and I should have stayed at home, I swapped seats. My wife took mine and I went with the young and we sat on the second row, and it is interesting being that close. I have done the family stand once or twice, and the thing I took away more than anything, because you hear the noise of the ball hitting, that kind of stuff, was Callum Hudson-Odoi's close control, which brings me to a point I had to raise, and I'm really sorry I didn't remember this. Do you remember when I said people keep talking about the pace of our front three, the pace of our front three? There was an article this week about maximum speed of everybody's front three, and obviously Elanga was miles ahead of ours. Interestingly, Chris Wood's maximum speed that he reached last season was faster than Callum Hudson-Odoi's.
Oh, interesting.
Which doesn't surprise me as much as people think, because obviously he's running in open space and it's a bit of a thinking back to when he was a young player. But I keep likening Callum Hudson-Odoi more to John Robertson than a flying winger. The way he shuffles down the wing, his ball control. Anyway, sorry, I digress. My apologies.
That's right. You mentioned speed there, and I do want to touch very briefly on Chloe Kelly's penalty for England. Obviously, we were going to mention the Lionesses. Let's do it anyway now. Chloe Kelly, I think it might have been a penalty she took in the World Cup for England was faster than any Premier League footballer's penalty that season, 69 miles an hour. And I thought that was an incredible stat. But just a quick nod to the Lionesses, of course. I know you guys watched it as well. They're in the final of the Euros after beating Italy in another late comeback. Quickly, your predictions before we move on in terms of how they're going to get on in the final, Kate?
Oh, goodness me. I mean, I would just like to say, I saw some stats that said that there are millions more people watching the Women's Euros than there were the Club World Cup, which I think that's a fantastic stat. That's a nod to women's football. And I mean, it has been exciting, hasn't it? You know, so I am really looking forward to the final. I really, really hope that it's third time lucky against Spain. And I'm going to go with 3-2 to England and be positive.
Yeah. What about you, Mono? Your predictions?
I'm going to have to go with, my heart says England, my head says Spain. They're technically such a good side. If they had a striker, they'd have walked this tournament, wouldn't they? So I'm going to go for a battling 2-1, and the reason for that is, and apologies to if any England ladies are listening, we've got a really strong midfield, a decent set of attackers, but there's definitely if you like, with the losing and loss of likes of Millie Bright, they're in a transitional stage where their centre-backs are struggling in every game. And I thought German centre-backs were magnificent to keep Spain at bay. I don't think we've got that calibre of centre-back available to us right now. Any of the centre-backs or the full-backs, I think, defensively we're weak. And they'll just exploit that because of the way they play with their possession. They're technically by far the best side.
Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
I'm always looking for ways to show my cat how much I love her. And with Fancy Feast Gems, I can pamper her whenever I want with a savory gravy on top of a gourmet mousse pâté. The pyramid shape makes serving simple, so all I have to do is peel and plate to make mealtime feel extra fancy. And with 2 entrees in every pack, it's easy to turn every day into the extraordinary. Fancy Feast Gems.
I was going to say, I do agree that we are defensively weak, but we do seem to have this amazing capacity to pull it out the bag at the last minute. Like, there's something going on, which means that we're getting lucky. Luck in football, I mean, that's absolutely priceless, isn't it? And I think that's why I'll go for it. Let's be positive. Let's say we're going to win it. We may have absolutely no right to, but yeah.
Yeah. I'll take let's Nuno ball them. I'll happily Nuno ball them like Germany should have done last night. Germany could finish. They might have won that game. So I'm 100% with you on that. And I think the growth of women's football, the speed that it's growing at, and what has to happen is men, particularly my age, have to stop trying to compare it directly. It's apples and oranges. I'm really enjoying watching it because I'm watching it from a perspective of, yes, technically there's great and everything else. I'm looking at it as a perspective of enjoying the game. I'm enjoying the fact there's a bit more space. I'm enjoying the fact that there's still a discrepancy between the most athletic and the least athletic on the pitch, which makes for some really exciting individual stuff going on. In the Premier League, and therefore, I suppose by default, most international matches, if you're not the best player out there, you're still an unbelievable athlete, aren't you? And that hasn't quite filtered into the women's game yet, right the way down. And in the WSL, that's now gradually addressing that, and in time it's going to come. And with the finances behind it, it will come even more quickly because more young girls will see it as a career option rather than just something they could do while they're at university, or with the potential of potentially earning some quite good money. Although the top WSL player gets £400,000 a week, a lot of them are only £400,000 a year. A lot of WSL players, if only, she's quite good, that one. Most WSL players are earning in the region of £20,000 to £25,000 a year, which sounds great to play football. But how are you going to be able to compete with full-time professionals if you're having to do other things to keep your finances going? You know yourself. You see some of the Forest ladies in the past working at the club, doing community stuff. So in time it will compete. I'm proud that Forest are backing it as well, as they are with netball. But
right, for my prediction, I think it's going to go to penalties again. I think it'll be a tight one. I just hope that if it does go to penalties, they take better penalties than they did the other week when they managed to scrape through in the end. I was sat in a bar in actually it was a Forest bar in New York that we were sat in watching that game, and of all places, and let's just hope the penalties will be better than that if they. It was
incredible. It was incredible, and I think you've alluded to it, how well some of those players can hit a penalty. That just shows that level of pressure, because most WSL players, until recently, weren't getting that kind of exposure. They know when they're walking up to take that penalty, it could be life-defining even for them in the women's football. And the pressure, the TV audience, and what that does to you. Their legs must have been like absolute jelly walking up there, because some of those penalties were like under 11 penalties gone wrong, weren't they? Yeah. And that's you can't tell me they don't take perfect penalties in training day in, day out.
Yeah. Right, coming towards the end of the show now, we can't leave today without talking about the fact that Fantasy Premier League is now live. Yeah. The Tricky Talks podcast has created a league. Everybody is welcome to join. The league code is Q36GCE. That's Q36GCE. It would be good to have as many people as possible. Kate, I know you've got a team already, so have I. I'm going to ask you the big question. How many Forest players have you got in your team right now?
The maximum, as always. In fact, to the point where, where it wouldn't let me, which is probably why I don't win. But I love them so much. I just want them in my team. And I haven't finished it yet. Like, let's see what happens with all the transfer windows and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I've got the basics down. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got my team in already as well, and I do spend a lot of time tinkering between now and game week 1, and I'd already started off with Milenkovic in the team because the new defensive contribution rule elevated him to the top of the league in terms of points scored last season, had that rule been in place. However, I've now taken him out already, and I've got Chris Wood up front, but I'm sure between now and game week 1 it will change again, and I'll have one or two in there. I made a mistake last year. I had Chris Wood in my team for pretty much the whole season up to the very end when I got rid of him when we were having that bad run at the end of the season. But I reaped the benefits of his scoring run. Unfortunately, I made a mistake and didn't have Matt Sells, Murillo, Milenkovic or Ola Aina in my team at all throughout the season. Don't ask me why. I don't know why. It was just almost...
Why?
I've got a history of... not picking Forest players because I figured if they do well, then I don't want to jinx it myself by picking them in my team. So I have tended to stay away. I need to have more confidence in them almost, if you like.
100% agree with that. As you know, I'm really superstitious in ridiculous ways. And when I picked 2 seasons ago when I first started doing the FPL, I literally changed my team based on the next 3 or 4 weeks of games we had, and I was trying to put as many of the opposition players into my team as possible to jinx them, because I'm so bad at FPL and stuff like that normally. But I'm going big this year. I'm actually going to take it really seriously. I've got my 20-year-old son is Mr. Stats. He's got all the new rules down. He's looked at everything. So we talk about, this is really sad, but we talk about that a lot at the moment, me and my son, and who we could have. And he went away. I've got to tell you this. I forget who it is. Is it somebody signed a Czech left back. I can't think who it is. It'll come to me in a minute. And they're really cheap. I've never heard of them. But apparently he scored 7 goals in the Czech league last year. So he's put him in believing that he's going to score goals. He's gone away and done that research. So I'm going to have a good look. And Milenkovic and Murillo were the top 2 centre-halves, I believe, last year.
Yeah.
And interestingly, though, because of the way it plays out, it's no longer just going to reward the big teams at the top, is it? Because that Bednarak, who was one of the top defenders that plays for Southampton because of all the headers and whatnot, and how busy it was, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going big. I'm going big. I think I'm going to try and put together some sort of prize for the winner. We need some Forest-related prize.
So I look forward to seeing your team in then, Molo, in the not too distant future. Talking of teams, we've got a fair few in the league already. I don't know whether you've seen, Kate, but one of the best team names in there, I think it was Andrew, who selected a team name called Check Your Emails, which is a little bit novel. I've not seen that one before, so it did make me smirk, that one.
Shocking. Have you seen the reference with George's team? Has George entered yet? George Mollisford, because
no, I don't think so.
Okay, he's going to, but he's screenshotted about 4 different teams that he's picked, so he doesn't forget when he comes to his final choice. So you can change right up until the end, can't you?
You can change it up until game week. Yeah, game week 1, but he's not put a team in yet.
No, he's got a brilliant name because he's a massive Joy Division Smiths fan. He's come up with a really clever name, so I won't spoil it.
I like Joy Division and Smiths as well, actually.
Yeah.
So is George the one to beat then, Molo, this season, do you think?
He does study it. And last year in our family one, he was going really well, but then I can't remember exactly why, but he just kind of lost interest for it. Lost the time to do it for a little while. But yeah, he'll definitely be up there because he studies it so hard, and he's been absolutely agonising whether to put Pedro in or not. It's because he's convinced he'll score loads.
Yeah, I've got him in. What about your clan, Kate? Are you all going to be entering like Molo's lot?
Yeah, so I think my 10-year-old's already in with his team. He won our league last year. I know. How bad is that? I won the year before. I had a really bad one last season, but he's quite good. My 13-year-old, the middle one, is the one that's the stats guy. So, but he is also guilty of what I think you said before. He gets halfway through the season and then he forgets to change it for a few weeks, and then nobody's in there. But I will definitely be badgering them this season. Come on. It's important. We got to win the Tricky Talks League.
I'll tell you the other thing that George has done. He's looked at everyone's first few fixtures to see who's got the easiest run of fixture at the start to pick his team based on that, and then make the changes as and when. It's like
that is smart.
I'm like, I need to put a time like a Wednesday night every week or something, an hour to go through it. Sometimes I used to get to Saturday or Friday night, even if it was a Friday, I'd be like, I've only got an hour to. And I did have 2 centre backs who played about half the games of the season in the end last season. I've just never got round to changing.
Right, look forward to seeing you guys who are listening entering our league. We'll keep reporting on that throughout the season in terms of how we're doing against each other, of course. I know Chelsea's got a team in too. So that brings us pretty much to the end of the show. Any other business? We'll start with UK. Anything you want to bring up before we draw to a close?
No, I don't think so. It's been an absolute pleasure, gents. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Molo, anything from you?
One thing I've got to do, really, one of those proud dad moments, because obviously a lot of people know Ellie is founded and been heavily involved in getting the Garibaldi girls off the ground. And in the meantime, she was doing a degree in business, international business and whatnot. And she graduated with a first-class honours degree this week. Well, this week we went to graduation, so very proud of her. Now she can get on with earning some money. Yay!
Yeah, and supporting her old man a little bit. And paying some rent.
Taking me, put me in a good home.
Right, on that note, congrats, Ellie, fully well deserved. Everybody else, thank you again for listening. We shall be back very soon, and hopefully the next episode, if everything comes off, we shall have a special guest to bring to you. Say no more for now, but Molo has been working hard behind the scenes to bring you the first Tricky Talks guest, and it'll be a good one too. So keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, bye from us, and we shall talk to you again very soon.
Podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams July Summer Sale and get 30% off paints and stains July 18th through the 28th. With prices starting at $34.29, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.